Great call. You joined us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. As always, coming to you from the studios, provided by First Star Logistics, because you're in the trenches with Dave Lapham. We are in the trenches with Jerry Montgomery. We're in the trenches with Scott Peters. That's the new offensive and defensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. You win football games in the trenches. These two coaches coached together with the New England Patriots last year. These two coaches know everything about each other. They know what works at practice, how to script, how to work against each other, the physicality that is necessary, the mental preparation that's necessary. They're going to hit the ground running as the offensive and defensive line coach with the Cincinnati Bengals. We talk about that with Jerry Montgomery. He's excited about that. We also talk about the athletic ability that Jerry Montgomery had as a player and when he decided to coach. We talk about his family. He's got a family, his wife, and his 5 children. They're all athletes. It's incredible. Jerry Montgomery, highly regarded defensive line coach. Now he's here with the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's also run game coordinator. I'm telling you what, these football coaches are young, enthusiastic, and I'm looking forward to the physicality that their groups are going to bring to the football field. You have all kinds of things you could be doing. I understand that. And for you to choose to join us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, was extraordinarily intelligent. And by the way, we're in our studios provided by First Star Logistics. And why I say was extraordinarily intelligent is because that's what our special guest is, extraordinarily intelligent. Football IQ, overall IQ. This guy, Jerry Montgomery, the new defensive line coach, he not only a great coach. Coach, how about you as an athlete? I'm looking at you, 4-year starter at Iowa. You played for Hayden Fry and Kirk Ferentz, but then in high school, Street and Smith All-American, Nevada State Player of the Year in 1997. When you were a junior on a state basketball team that was a championship basketball team. What position did you play, Coach? First of all, welcome. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So,
what position did you play?
Yeah, I played the 4, anywhere from the 3, 4, and 5, depending on who was in. But we had a pretty solid team. Kids that went on and played some college hoop, and I thought I was going to be this major D1 basketball player. Had some opportunities to play, but I think it was more, hey, we're recruiting you for football. You got this walk-on opportunity as a basketball player. But basketball, I loved hoop.
How about starting for 4 years at Iowa and being exposed to Hayden Fry and Kirk Ferentz? I mean, had you already decided, Coach, that you were going to get into coaching eventually, or did those guys impact that decision in any way? How did that work out?
It helped, but I'll tell this story. I was in Union Middle School in Salt Lake, in Sandy, Utah, in Salt Lake City. And my middle school gym teacher, he wore the old school Adidas 3-stripe zip up, old school. He had the trick shots. And I tell you what, he was so good with us at gym that I was like, man, you know what? When I get out of college, I want to be a phys ed teacher, coach gym, and coach football and basketball.
There you go.
So I knew that in middle school, but it really didn't hit me until when I got done playing. I was like, what do I really want to do? And I told this story to somebody else I spoke to today. When I got done playing, Hayden Fry was phenomenal. And I was his last recruiting class. He personally recruited me from Mesquite, Nevada.
Wow.
He had a retirement home there, and I met him on the golf course. So I was committed to USC, and then I met Hayden Fry and just took a visit, loved it, decommitted and committed there. And then after 1 year, he retired. And then I had Coach Ferentz, who has a huge teaching background. But, I was done playing, and I accepted, it was time to get a real job. So I accepted a medical sales job. And then my D-line coach, Ron Aiken, calls me and says, "Hey, what do you got going on?" I told him, I said, I'm going to make some real money doing medical sales. And he goes, I got something even better. He goes, I got a call today, a school by the name of NIAC, North Iowa Area Community College. He goes, they've got a D-line job, $1,500 stipend, free room and board. He goes, that's what you need to do. I said, well, coach, he's like, Jerry, I'm just telling you, this is who you are. This is what you need to do. And so went and talked to my wife, told her we needed to move into a 2-bedroom apartment inside a dorm room with 2 kids. And we did it. And then it's best decision we ever made.
I can see why they offered you a sales job, Coach, because that is a heck of a sales job you had that you did on your wife. That's awesome, man. That's unbelievable. So
Man.
tell us about your family. Not only are you a phenomenal athlete, your wife, athletic background, your kids, you have 5 children, all of them athletes. Give us a rundown on the athletic ability and the talents of your family, Coach.
Yeah, my wife, my beautiful wife, Natalie, she is from, if you ever heard of the Field of Dreams, she's from Dyersville, Iowa. And she grew up on a farm there in Dyersville, about 2.5 miles from there. And she, in high school, she was basketball, softball, track, and volleyball. And
Wow.
then so she did it all. And maybe her sisters wouldn't want me to tell the story, but in the state of Iowa, they play softball in the summer. So as an 8th grader, she beat out her older sister that I want to say was a junior at third base when she was in 8th grade. So
That's tough. That's tough.
yeah, so she's got a rocket of an arm. And but yeah, so we met in college, and she played volleyball at the University of Iowa. And I guess that leads into the kids, and we've got 5 of them. Our oldest son, Jaden, he's a redshirt sophomore linebacker, University of Iowa.
Great.
And then we have a freshman at the University of Iowa, Tevin. He's a student assistant in the football office, so he wants to coach. So what better place to learn than from Coach Ferentz and his staff?
Yeah.
And then we have a freshman right now who is at Xaverian Brother in Mass, who will be going to Moeller once we get there next week.
Nice.
And then we have a 8th grade daughter who is following her mom's footsteps in volleyball. And then she's really good at soccer, very, very elite at soccer. It's just the 2 sports are played during the same season here. When we were in Wisconsin, they were fall and spring. So she's going to have to make a decision. But I think volleyball is what she wants to do. And then we have a 6-year-old, and she runs the roost, and she's pretty athletic herself, but she's pretty tough for a 6-year-old because of all the older siblings,
No doubt.
So we'll figure out what she wants to do later. But
Yeah.
and on top of that, they're all great students. So that I'd say that's probably the most important.
No doubt. You got a bunch of student athletes. Yeah. And your 6-year-old, man, she'll be a success in anything she wants to do. There's no doubt. She's taking some lumps, I'm sure. But tell us about your son that's going to go to Moeller. What position does he play, Coach?
Yeah, he's a DN, probably 6'4", 225, 230-ish right now. And he's a DN, and he's played some tight end. Now, me being critical, I'm saying blocking tight end, possibly move to offensive tackle down the road. Who knows? But definitely not the athletic type of tight end. I would say Mercedes Lewis type.
Gotcha. So, man, you decide after a football career, you also you go to an NFL camp. I know you played some arena football, but you were in the Saints training camp in 2002, and then 2003, 4, and 5, you played with 3 different teams in the Arena Football League from a playing standpoint, and then you decide, okay, time to get into the coaching world. And man, every coach pays their dues, and you're no exception. I mean, you've got a pretty good list here of things that you did and stops. But I see Michigan, 11 and 12, and then 13 and 14. I see Oklahoma, and I'm thinking that was the Stoops brothers, right? Wasn't that
Bob.
Bob Stoops? Wasn't that his era?
Yep, Bob and Mike.
Yep.
Mike was the D coordinator, and I co-coordinated with him.
Yeah, and then you go to Green Bay, and you're there for 9 years, and that's one thing that the coaches were talking about. All right, a guy that stayed at one place for 9 years through different general managers, different head coaches, different coordinators. That's a special dude. That's a special guy. And then you have the one season with the Patriots. Tell us about your career in Green Bay. And you mentored, some great players obviously there, but Kenny Clark, 3-time Pro Bowler, stud. I mean, what was he like to coach, and what was your time like at Green Bay?
Yeah, first off, very grateful for Mike McCarthy to give me the opportunity, who brought me there in 2015. But love my time there. And they're a draft and develop organization, so they value development. So no matter who they gave you, it was your job to develop them and get them to play to the standard in which we want them to play. And so I'm very thankful for that. And yeah, working with guys like Kenny Clark. I mean, tell you what, guy had a chip on his shoulder, but from the first day he walked in till I was with him every single year. From the first day he walked in till the day I left, the kid has a notebook, and he's got notes from 8 years ago.
Wow.
On linemen we faced, on schemes. So when you talk about challenging guys and making them uncomfortable, and trying to get them to grow as football players, not just athletes, but just to grow and understand the football game. He's one of those kids that, first one in the building, last one out. He was you always need to give him something, stance tells, things like that. So it was unbelievable to coach a guy like that. And more importantly, when you brought a young guy in, he would set the standard with those guys immediately. So, but I had a ton of guys. BJ Raji was there towards the end of his career. I had a chance to work with him.
Yeah.
LaTroy Guion, who was really good for us. Mike Daniels.
Yeah.
It was really neat. I didn't have those guys in my room, but Julius Peppers and Clay Matthews were guys that we drill worked with. To the Rashawn Garys and Preston Smith and the guys that were in there now. So
I'll tell you, Coach, that's a pretty good list. I mean, that's a heck of a career, right there for sure. Now here in Cincinnati, you have Trey Hendrickson, who's got 35 sacks the last 2 years, 17 and a half each of the last 2 years. I mean, he is a premier edge guy. I mean, his first step explosiveness is like, whoa. I'm a former offensive lineman. This guy would be like, oh, that's a problem now. You gotta commit some resources over here. He's something unique. And then there's a guy that there's always meat on the bone. I mean, I'm sure you loved continuing to develop guys like that with that kind of skill set. And then guys like Miles Murphy, who come to the organization as a very high pick, who are still in their younger years, looking to be developed. And I mean, you've got one end of the spectrum, another end of the spectrum, and everything in between. I know you probably haven't had time to study, all the tape and all that sort of thing, but you got to be excited about what you're being presented from a player standpoint.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting in the building for one. We'll be there, next week. But more importantly, yeah, I mean, you talk about Trey, his production, that is phenomenal. I mean, any D-line coach would love to have that type of production. And then my job is to make sure he continues to do that, and then to uplift the rest of the guys to match that inside, and get some great push inside, and coordinate the 4 and 5 man rush. But yeah, I'm excited about it. And we've got some young talent on the inside also.
no doubt. And you've done more with 4 and 5 man than 3 man, or have you done all of it?
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely when whether you're with a 3-4 or 4-3, when you play nickel defense 85% of the time, you're working with the front four. You got to coordinate the four-man rush.
Yep. Yep.
You got to organize that. So we've worked all together the whole time I was there. So I'm pretty excited to get started, to be honest with you.
As a former offensive lineman with the Bengals, and I was fortunate enough to be around when we went to the Super Bowl the first time back in 1982, January of '82, the 81-82 season, Super Bowl 16, a long time ago now. But I know that this city is thirsting for another Super Bowl opportunity. Zach Taylor has taken the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl as well. They've gone 3 times. Zach Taylor is one of the head coaches that has taken the Bengals to the Super Bowl. Haven't won the Super Bowl yet, but have made 3 appearances there. That's obviously the goal. A lot of work to be done. There's no two ways about that. In your mind, what does it take? When do you start really getting your guys indoctrinated? You're the run game coordinator as well as the defensive line coach. So when do you start getting all of that indoctrinated with your players, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, it starts now. It starts, we get back in there Monday. It starts then, and again, we'll get a chance to sit down with the defensive staff and Al and talk about the things that we want to get accomplished and do. But the minute those guys step in the building, one, we got to start building relationships so these guys understand, yeah, I'm their coach, but, they got to know I care about them, get to know their families. But when we get in that building, the expectation is going to be the standard, and the standard is going to be, to win it all. And you don't play this game, or you don't go somewhere saying, hey, we just want to do this. No. I mean, every year it's to win that Super Bowl trophy at the end of the year. So that starts from the get-go. And we got to, set the standard on how we need to prepare, and how we process and how we want to play the game. And, it starts immediately.
Al Golden is very, very effusive in his praise of you. I mean, he's definitely a fan of Coach Montgomery. Is it reciprocated? I mean, had you known much about Coach Golden? Had you admired what he'd done and respected what he'd done like he has of your coaching talents?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know him personally, but like everybody I've spoken to raves about him, talks about, one, what type of person he is, but two, they say he's got a great mind for the game, very intelligent, very detailed, very organized. And I love that. I love that. And then you go back to look at his groups at Temple and what he did there, and even the things that he accomplished at Miami, and then him in the run they just had at Notre Dame. So I'm excited. Again, I felt like we had a fresh start last year, but this is brand new start, brand new room, and I can't wait to hit the ground running. And obviously, it helps when you have an unbelievable quarterback like we have, and the weapons we have over there. Now we got to do our part, and if we can play as one, offense, defense, and special teams, we'll have a chance, and that's all you can ask for.
Al talks about ball disruption, all the time, and like you said, gaining extra possessions for number 9 for Joe Burrow and company, and minimizing possessions, for the opponent, and then tackling. He's big on tackling. We're going to be a good tackling football team, and I know both of those things ring true to your ear for sure. The other thing that's interesting, Coach, I'm a former offensive lineman. I know how important we call this podcast In the Trenches. I know how important the trenches are, and that's going to win football games for you, is handling business in the trenches. Scott Peters, the offensive line coach, and yourself were both on the same staff last year. How big an advantage is that going to be, where you guys have already worked together, you've already scripted practices together, you've already done one-on-one pass rush drills and team twists and stunts and working on all those sort of things to make each other better in terms of pass rush, not just individual, but team pass rush. And, the run game, everything that goes with it. For you two guys to already have that type of familiarity going to a new coaching staff, how big is that?
Yeah, I think it's huge. One, I respect the heck out of Scott. He does a great job, great technician coach. But more importantly, I think he understands the physicality in which we need to practice. All right, especially in between those lines with the bigs. So yeah, the things that we got to get done in practice so they carry over into the game. And that goes in the spring. There's some things you're going to have to do in the spring that maybe these guys haven't done or, not accustomed to. But like definitely the way that you practice, right? You just don't show up on game day and say, hey, we're going to be a physical team, but yet we don't practice that way. I mean, we definitely, between those white lines, offensive and defensive line wise, we'll get a lot done in practice, and being with him is going to help because he also understands that.
It's interesting, the new he's kind of a revolutionary in terms of, martial arts, the jujitsu, the hands, it's hand-to-hand combat in today's National Football League. I'm sure you've already come up with a lot of counters for what he's trying to teach his guys. And honestly, the first game against the Cincinnati Bengals, I thought you guys were really ready to play in New England. And I'll be a son of a gun if that loss obviously ended up costing the Bengals a playoff opportunity, really. But I thought the trenches, you guys handled it. I thought that offensive and defensive lines performed at a very, very high level for you in that opener against the Cincinnati Bengals. How quickly and how good is it to work against, a group of guys that have that expertise or being taught those kind of tools to have in their toolbox to try to block a defense and to block defensive linemen and for you to formulate counters to it?
Yeah, one of the best things you can do is be able to practice against elite linemen, right? And we used to sell that when I was at Oklahoma. All right, the Jordan Phillips, the Charles Tappers. It was like, hey, we're going to line up against some of the best offensive linemen in the country every single day in practice. That's what's going to help you get to where you want to go. It's no different at this level. When you talk about having Trey on one side and having Baby Zeus on the other side, like those guys compete and making each other in practice. That's how you get better, and that's how you get better up front, and that's how you make the team better. So to me, working in practice, good on good, is how you do that, and I'm looking forward to it. So yes, we'll be ready for a lot of the hand fighting Scott does with the fronts and the jump sets and the flash of the hands and the retrace and all those things he does. He does a great job with that.
Coach, I've heard from multiple sources that you are a no nonsense guy in with regard to, look, do your job. You have a gap responsibility. You have gap control responsibility. Take care of that. No hero ball. Don't try to make a play that is taking you away from your area of responsibility. Don't harvest somebody else's crop, kind of thing. The AAA, the alignment, assignment, adjustment kind of thing of it. I love that. I mean, to me, that's what football is all about. And in watching your teams, that's what they're all about. I mean, your defensive line, the discipline that they show is extraordinary. I mean, that's a credit to you, Coach.
You know what? That I appreciate that, but that's one of the most important things is to, there's 11 guys on the field, and my job isn't to make the play over there. My job is to defeat the block in front of me and make the play that comes at me. And at the end of the day, if we all play and do our 111, all right, we're going to have a chance to be successful. If you start going rogue within the scheme of the defense, then, we got to find somebody else and put them out there. And there'll be some opportunities for certain guys to take a chance in certain calls. But for the most part, like all 11 guys, they all have a job to do. It's like a puzzle. Fitting that run is like a puzzle, and if you fit it the way you're supposed to, you got a chance to be really good. Rushing the quarterback, you got to remember, uh, they got 6 gaps for our 4 rushers. So we got to be sound in how we rush the quarterback, and we got to protect certain guys that are going to have those one-on-one opportunities, and so those are things that'll be harped on every single day. And I'm a firm believer, how you practice is how you're going to play. So we're going to practice that way, and it should carry over into the game.
Al Golden has hired Mike Hodges as his linebacker coach. He was with the New Orleans Saints for 8 years. That's a tribute as well. I mean, you're with the Packers for 9. He's with the Saints for 8. That says a lot. You know much about Mike, Coach?
You know what? I haven't had a chance to meet him, but I tell you what, from afar, what they did in New Orleans defensively and the way those backers play, are you kidding me? I mean, yeah, he had some good ones, and those guys came downhill. They took blocks off. They were great in their pass rush games. I mean, just, really admired what they did there, and I'm excited to work with them. Heard nothing but great things about them.
So you mentioned a couple of the coaches that had an influence on you in terms of, you deciding to get into the profession. What about players? Kenny Clark, we talked about. Any other players that you coached at the collegiate level or at the professional level where it was like, man, yeah, this guy was special. And I believe I helped him, but he had some special qualities. But, I can, my job is to develop even the guys like them. What kind of guys did you have in that regard, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to my days at, Northern Iowa. I had a defensive lineman by the name of Everett Pedestal, played for the Broncos. You go to Wyoming, Mitch Unrye played, 8 or 9 years, overachiever, smart, did everything you asked him to do. To Mike Purcell, who were recruited out of Denver, played for us at Wyoming, and then he was in the league for a long time with the Broncos, San Francisco. He bounced around for a little bit, and then my time at Michigan. I mean, shoot, Frank Clark, Willie Henry, Chris Wormley, Maurice Hurst Jr. And I know I'm gonna Mike Martin, nose tackle that played for the Tennessee Titans.
Yep.
We recruited some really good ones and we developed them. And then you go to Oklahoma, you talk about Jordan Phillips, who's playing for Buffalo right now. Charles Tapper, who's no longer in the league but was a second-round draft pick, was a great technician. Eric Stryker, who didn't get a long career in the NFL, but man, we beat Alabama in that Sugar Bowl, and he ruined that left tackle's draft stock that year. I'll tell you that. So there's a ton of them. And then again, like some of the guys I had in Green Bay that undrafted rookie free agent Tyler Lancaster made a name for himself in this league and played 6-7 years in this league for a guy that wasn't even supposed to be around, but was a technician, was coachable, had great football IQ. Dean Lowry, who was in our division in Pittsburgh now, but just there's a ton of guys, and I talk to a lot of them every single day. To be honest with you, I get calls throughout the season, and and it's been great.
So, Coach, you go from the NFC to the AFC North, and the AFC North is physical. I mean, it's got a reputation, I think deservedly so. Teams want to establish that running game. Baltimore likes to run it. They got their big running back. They want to run the football. Pittsburgh wants to run the football. Cleveland does as well. I mean, it's a physical division. Are you excited about the opportunity to have your defensive front playing with the physicality that you're going to have?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? I played the position, so like, to excuse my French, it shit or get off the pot. So
there you go.
It's big boy football, and and I always say this: I'm like, you guys want a pass rush, you got to stop the run in order to get to that. So like if that's what they want to do, we got to stop that, and then we can go have some fun and get after the quarterback. But we got to stop this run first. So
I've heard so many coaches with that philosophy: earn the right to rush the passer. Man, you got to earn the right. You got to stop the run and earn the right to rush that passer. The legendary Paul Brown, he talked about he didn't beat us up at practice unnecessarily, but he wanted tempo. He wanted physicality. He didn't necessarily go to the ground, tackle people, take them to the ground. He didn't want to risk injury and all that sort of thing. But he had a saying, man, every day I want to see every single one of you compete. Competition breeds excellence of performance, period. And man, he wanted some good competition like you're talking about, Coach. That offensive and defensive line, he wanted to see guys, getting after it a little bit. And he knew what he was talking about. And sounds like you do as well, Coach. I can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait for training camp. I know it starts way before that. I know it starts with OTAs and mini camps and all that sort of thing. But I'm real excited to see the pads come on and the one-on-one pass rush drills and everything else that goes along with it as you build this football team. I'm excited to see your contribution and all the new coaches that Zach has brought here to Cincinnati. It has the makings of an incredible staff. I mean, you have to be really, really pumped up about it, aren't you?
No, I am. Like I said from the get-go, very excited. Yeah, just to me, the skies are the limits. Now it's our job to get these guys ready to roll, and I feel like we're starting OTAs tomorrow, and we got a little time, but we'll evaluate some of these prospects and see what we got. But yeah, definitely excited to get rolling and can't wait.
And finally, Coach, here in Cincinnati, assistant coaches have a big voice from a personnel standpoint. I mean, the personnel department, they listen to what the coaches have to say. Coaches will go out to schools and have visits with prospects, go to the whole 9 yards. I mean, the input of the coaching staff is highly regarded. You excited about that aspect of it as well?
Yeah. I had a couple other interviews earlier, and I just said, you put a lot of time into the evaluation process, and you go out, you evaluate, you interview, you meet with these kids, and then to get to draft night, and you're like, I love this guy, and to be like, oh, we didn't take that guy, to going into a organization that kind of says, all right, like, I haven't experienced it yet, but like, who do you really like, why? And you stand on the table for them, and guys you don't, and you stand on the table why you don't, and so I'm excited to be a part of that, and feel like all the work is worth it.
There's a wise old coach that I played for, and his philosophy on that was, if you're going to ask me to cook the dinner, I want some ingredients for the recipe,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I want to pick what I'm working with here, man. Come on now. That's good stuff, Coach.
Absolutely,
Coach. I know you got a lot on your plate. You're in the process of packing up from the East Coast and coming to the West Coast, or I shouldn't say West Coast. You should say Middle America.
Yeah.
Here in Cincinnati, you're coming west, is what I'm saying. With that family of academic athletes. And we're excited, Coach, to have you guys here as part of Cincinnati. It's a great community. I know you're going to love it. I know your family's going to fit right in, sir.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and can't get there fast enough. But we will see you guys early next week.
Appreciate your time very much. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave.
Dave Lapham here. While games are over for the season, there's no off-season for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham or First Star Logistics. First Star Logistics gave away great prizes during the season, which will continue with exclusive content in the First Star Media Group YouTube channel. So please, do me a favor. Subscribe to In the Trenches, hit the like button, and visit the First Star Media Group YouTube channel for exclusive content and special giveaways.